Hello and welcome to The Gist. I'm your host, Chris Vetrano, here every week to break down all the things that are happening in pop culture and interviewing the people that make it pop. Today, we have another edition of our pop culture roundup talking about all the things that kept a spring in our step this last month. And here to help me walk through it all, she's no stranger to The Gist. She's the Grammy-nominated multi-platinum selling recording artist and also one of my very best friends who I talk about on this pod all the time. Plus, her new single, Eye Contact, is out now. It's Cassadee Pope. Cassadee, hello
Hi.
again.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm always so happy to have you on the pod. Obviously, we get to chat all the time, but sometimes it's fun to bring our conversation to the people.
Yeah, I feel like we're always like, oh my gosh, if people could hear us right now. It's just so fun. So this is always a good time.
Yes. Well, a lot's going on. I want to talk about your new music because that's part of pop culture that's happening this month. But I also, before we get into that, want to kind of get your take on some of the other big pop culture moments of the last month, starting with the Oscars. So did you get, award season is always this big. I know you've done lots of red carpets, but it kind of concludes with the biggest of them all, the Oscars. Did you get a chance to watch the show, and were there any kind of highlights for you?
Yeah, I think I watched it sort of on and off because I remember that day I was like severely hungover. So I watched what I could and then I would fall asleep and then I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh. But yeah, the I'm Just Ken performance with Ryan Gosling was incredible.
Amazing.
He's such a showman and all of his castmates singing along was so cute. I thought the Al Pacino thing was interesting. Apparently they told him to do that, but it was anticlimactic. I was like, oh, I felt that was the biggest award of the night,
Yeah, I didn't understand that I was told to do that thing. It just that I feel like that's like a PR move, right?
Yeah. And no one's going to argue with him. The Oscars are going to be like, no, we didn't. They're not going to do that.
I know. Because it is the biggest award of the night. And then we don't even get to say all the nominees. That feels like a bit of a bummer for the other movies.
Yeah, and I felt like there was this pause of like, oh, was that the winner, or was he saying the nominees, and then it just felt like very confusing. But I actually thought the show, the parts that I was awake for, were really really entertaining and really good, and I thought the speeches were great. I thought Emma Stone was so genuinely seemed so genuinely surprised, which I always love seeing. And because sometimes it's like the winners can be such dead giveaways. And I don't know, I felt like that was a bit of a surprise in a good way because she's amazing. Yeah, so I thought it was good.
Have you seen what is it, Poor Things?
I haven't. I've heard that's like one of her best performances.
Yeah, I knew nothing about the movie, and Joe and I watched it over the last weekend. And I mean, I don't want to say too much about it because you should watch it. I feel like you and Sam would really like it. It's very weird and it's not at all what I thought it was going to be, but yeah, it was like this really visionary thing too. So yeah, it was amazing. So you should watch it. But yeah, I was now that I've seen it, I'm glad to see that she won. And because I did love the I'm Just Ken performance as well. I mean, I think the homage to Marilyn Monroe that it was with the pink dress and the what's the song, the Diamond song. And so they really played up that. And, it just seemed like it was fun. And I love that, he obviously comes from the Mickey Mouse Club where he sang and danced. And he's done La La Land and, he's done other things, but I think it still must be probably pretty nerve-wracking for someone who doesn't do singing and to be on the biggest stage of the Oscars and doing a big performance like that. So I thought it was really well done.
Kudos to him. He didn't look nervous at all. He killed it.
Yeah, and then I loved Emma Stone saying that she broke her dress. And
I know.
She's like, I think it happened during the I'm Just Ken performance. She just busted out of her dress. I love that. I mean, she's so funny. And I would love a night with Emma Stone and
Yeah.
what's her, oh my gosh, why not, keep wanting to say Jennifer Coolidge, but it's not Jennifer Coolidge.
Oh,
Who's
Jennifer,
the
J-Law,
J-Law?
Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
Yes.
both seem like they'd be just a hoot.
Yeah. And well, because Michelle Yeoh, who was supposed to give Emma the award, I don't know if you caught this, but she gave it to J-Law because they're like best friends, and so she wanted her to
Oh
be able to give it to her. And so
my
she
God.
did a thing on stage where she was like, you give it to her, and like she got to kind of give her the award, which I thought was sweet.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice when something like so prestigious can be a bit casual. Like I feel like it
Hmm.
kind of creates a bit of levity for everyone because it is like, I mean, people are so nervous and they're just on the edge of their seats waiting to see if they've won or whatever. Like
Hmm.
it's so serious. So I love when those moments happen. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't see like the whole award show either. But the pieces that I saw, I thought were really great clips. And from what it sounds like, it was a pretty good award show.
Yeah.
Well, moving on. Now, there was a lot of talk this last month about, what's been going on with Princess Kate.
For
It was
sure.
obviously, there was a lot of questions as to where she was. And then we ultimately learned. And so, our hearts are going out to her and her family, and we really want to honor her privacy. So we're not going to talk about that on today's show. And then some of the other big pop culture things that I'm sure you're seeing online are just really dark. And so I thought we should focus more on, stuff that we love. And I know you're a big Bravo fan. So
Yes.
I want to start with Beverly Hills because we ended this last month. We ended this current season with the final reunion, the 3-part reunion, which personally I thought could be 2 parts.
I
But
know.
what what was your thoughts, just sort of in general, about the season and then like how it wrapped up with this reunion?
Yeah, I thought it was I don't know. When I heard what the season would be about, I thought it was going to be a bit more intense and more dramatic. And I know that it was still entertaining. I was still entertained. I watched, when I watched, but yeah, it wasn't one of my favorite seasons, I'll be
Yeah.
honest. I think I'm really glad that Erica Jane went to therapy because I think she really needed it, and I think she's
Yes.
benefiting from it.
Yeah.
I thought Crystal came out of her shell a bit more and was just
Hmm.
unapologetic about her opinions, which was obviously it made a lot of drama. Um,
Hmm.
I thought the Kyle and Morgan stuff was, it was I liked seeing them on camera. I liked seeing their dynamic and their
Yeah.
friendship. And I thought that, Andy did a great job in the reunion asking the questions that needed to be asked. I thought there was a bit of editing happening with Kyle's answers. Like Kyle has just
Mm.
been doing this for so long that I doubt she would just sit there and be stumped when Andy asked her about her and Morgan. Like it just
Oh,
seemed like
right.
they added a lot of like
Right.
pauses and stuff for dramatic effect. And I'm like, Kyle knows better. She wouldn't have done that. And then it was a no. So it was like, she wouldn't have sat there and been contemplative about it before saying no, you know?
Yeah. I mean, she did kind of teeter though. I felt like she said no. And then he, I think when he asked, like, would you ever or something, or would you ever
Right.
consider being in a relationship with Morgan? I feel like she was like, I don't know. Like, and I
Yeah.
don't know if there's a bit because, like you said, Kyle is a seasoned pro at this, and I think that was why fans, from what I'm seeing on the reaction, is fans are wanted more from Kyle. Like, she's always kind of the one to push people and say, like, show your true life. I'm here doing that. So if you're going to really show us your true life, then just like explain to people what's going on, because we've been following this story, and
Hmm.
there is a balance of like, I get wanting to like protect your children and protect like, Mauricio in some ways, but also you all signed up for this, and maybe not the children as much, but they are on buying Beverly Hills now. So they are signing up for this drama, and you have a bit of a responsibility to like just say like what's going on and be real about it. And I think what I saw was, and I agree, there was probably some editing that happened, but I also wondered if she was being really careful as to not have any sort of clickbait quotes that could come back and haunt her later. Like, for example,
Yeah.
if she's exploring herself and she doesn't know what that means yet, and she's got this great friend Morgan, and who knows, maybe they've had more than friendship or not. And I think, that's great one either way. And but I wonder if like she's worried about saying like, no, I would never do that, if like maybe down the line she decides that like she does want to be in a relationship with Morgan, and then forever she's got this like sort of quote on TV of her
Yeah.
saying like, no, I would never do it. So I felt like there
Yeah.
was like that kind of conflict happening. And then I think the other thing is that a lot of the people online feel like the trailer for Buying Beverly Hills, which also premiered this month, is really going much deeper into it. And it looks like Mauricio's having a lot more conversation about the split with the kids. And I think
Mm.
it's starting to feel as though like, was she sort of, because she's also in that show. And so people are like, was she not able to tell certain story at the reunion because she has to let it play out with her deal on Netflix? And so that was like part of it
Interesting.
too. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, I mean, that happens, right? They probably have some sort of barriers of like, okay, we're going to save this for our show.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely am not going to like weigh in on what I think is happening between them, but
Mm.
I know that it must be, if she's exploring, like you said, if Kyle's exploring her sexuality, and um I think it's hard because if she is discovering that about herself, that she's maybe bi or whatever, I think it, I don't know, it feels like that's another added layer of heaviness and like seriousness to the whole thing. Like
Mhm.
obviously, she's got kids and the Mauricio thing, and they're working through like their separation and stuff, but like there's that added layer of privacy that like I can't really imagine how hard that would be to navigate.
Right.
And I don't think anyone should feel pressured or rushed in their process of that. Although they're on this reality show and they're, expected to share everything about themselves, that's something that I feel a bit like, I don't know, it feels bigger than the show to me, you
Yeah.
know?
No,
So
absolutely. Well, and I'm curious, what was your take on having Kathy there?
I didn't get it.
I know, I didn't either. She wasn't on the season at all. And so it
No.
was like, why did they have her? And honestly, when they brought her out right before they were going to talk about all that stuff, I was like, okay, Kyle's about to share something probably very personal, and they want her to have a support system with
Right.
her. Like, I was like, that must be why Kathy's there, because even in one of the like trailers for it or something, they, asked the question about like, is anything going on with you and Morgan or whatever? And it goes to Kathy being like, don't be embarrassed.
I
And so it was
know.
like, it felt as though we were going to like get something. And then I was like, well, wait, why was Kathy actually there? Like, she was just
Yeah.
there to sort of clear up what happened at last year's reunion. Like, I don't know. It was
Right.
very strange.
Yeah, the only thing that really was said about her specifically was in Erica's confessional, where she was like, everybody's scared of her. That
Right.
felt like the only thing that really pertained to Kathy directly. And then, of course, the throughout the season, Kim and Kyle talking about how Kim or Kyle and Kathy were on the outs. Like that was the
Right.
only reason that I thought maybe they were going to just clear up like how they reconciled and everything, because it like they didn't go into that, did they? Did I miss that?
I mean, kind of. It seemed like they just sort of saw each other at an
Like Kyle
event, and
saw
then they
her
were like,
out. Yeah.
yeah. And it was, I don't know, it was just kind of strange. But, and then of course, I
Yeah.
think that they also wanted to address Sutton saying something like, you've already lost one sister, and like, and making that comment. But then Sutton has this like medical emergency, which has never happened on a Housewives reunion before.
I
And they
know.
don't even finish filming with her. And that was in itself very strange.
Yeah. I was actually, it was strange, but I was actually really happy that they took it so seriously because
Yeah.
like who knows what the hell that was. I mean, she probably does, but like who knows how serious that was, and if it's she
Yeah.
felt a bit better in a half hour and came back on set and they didn't treat her for something, like it could have been worse. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, bravo, good on you. Even
Yeah.
though
Well, and
we
I
lost
hate
two
that like
castmates.
yeah, and I hate that people online were like coming for her too because they were like, "Oh, she faked it because she knew that Kathy was about to like lay into her about all of these comments."
Oh, that's
And
terrible.
I'm like, "Okay, I get that like some of these housewives are dramatic. Okay, we've all seen them do some crazy things, but her blood pressure, like we had medical people being like, your blood pressure is very high. Like those things can't be faked. Like there were
Yeah,
signs that a medical professional was like, you should probably get treated. So I hope
yeah,
that that narrative ends and that we just let Sutton be
yeah,
and focus on her health.
yeah, yeah. I can't imagine Sutton actually like running away from confrontation because
Yeah,
I've never
she's
seen her do
legit.
that. So
Name them.
she's fine. Name 'em, name 'em. She almost started doing it at the
Um,
reunion too. I forget what she was saying, but Kyle was like, "Don't do that again."
yeah, I know. It was amazing. Um,
Uh,
so I feel like so I know that there's already some like casting rumors happening as there tends to be. Where do you feel like we go? Do you feel like the whole cast comes back next year, or do you feel like it's time for a bit of a refresh?
I wouldn't mind a refresh. I really, I don't know. I don't know these women, but I've always had a soft spot for Kyle, and I feel like it would be so beneficial to her life and her mental health to like pause and just like
Hmm.
not do the show for a minute
Yeah,
because that's a lot to go through in the open, and to have all these opinions and everything. It doesn't help you be able to make decisions clearly and do what's best for you. Like, don't worry about the audience. Don't worry about what people are saying. Like, do what's best for your life and your heart.
yeah,
And I don't know how easy that is to do under such scrutiny and like on television when
yeah.
everybody's watching. So I would miss seeing her, but I hope she pauses. Um, I don't know. Erica Jane is sort of having a, a whatever side you're on. She's trying to have a sort of
Redemption.
redemption thing. Yeah, I'm like words. But I wouldn't mind seeing. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some new people. To be honest.
Yeah, I think it might be time. I love a lot of the key players, but I think that the storylines are getting a little stale and we've seen it play
Yeah,
out. And I think even if like if Kyle's not ready to talk about it, then like great, like I agree with you. Let's put it on pause. And when she's ready to like share everything again that's going on in her life, like then maybe she comes back.
yeah,
Um, but I am worried a little bit about the state of our housewives because so few of them are filming. We know OC and Salt Lake City are filming, which we assume we're going to get sometime late summer, fall timeline. There's
yeah.
rumors that New York is about to pick up cameras again, and
Ooh,
that potentially the whole cast is back. I think the big surprise there was that Jenna is potentially coming back. I think we all thought she was done, a one and done.
I know.
Um,
I saw that too. I was like, that would make me really sad. She was
if she
fun.
came back,
No, if she
oh
didn't.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
I loved watching her. I thought she was awesome.
yeah. I think that like they probably, I mean, they took a long hiatus in between, and I think they probably just needed to retool a little bit. But I'm guessing that
Yeah.
like if they deliver a little bit less on what Jenna like that she's this matriarch and all these things, and let her sort of like be a little bit more her. I actually think that her and Bryn could be kind of this new sort of like Sonia Ramona, like where they're just like
Yeah.
two friends that are super fun together. And, so I think that there's a lot of potential there. So we might have them later in the year. And then when now that Beverly Hills is done, Potomac's about to wrap up, we are going to have Dubai. I think it starts in
Mm,
May, I want to say, which we have not seen like a full trailer of that, and we know that that's been in the can for a while. So I hope it's good.
yeah,
And did you ever catch up on Dubai? I know last time you were
I
on, you actually had
didn't.
not watched it. You never watched. Well,
No, but has it been only one season?
it's yes, it's only been one season.
Okay,
It's a short
that's
season, so
easy.
you can get caught up before it starts. And
Okay,
and
I'm
you
gonna do
you
that.
should, because that's my fear, is like we don't have a lot happening. And then we have got Jersey, which we got the trailer this last month. Did you see the trailer for Jersey?
I did. I did. I thought the Jackie thing, I mean, I've known about the Jackie thing because I follow all the
Yeah.
Bravo accounts and stuff on
Yeah.
Instagram. It still blows my mind. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm sure hopefully we'll like see how that happened, but I'm like,
Yeah.
that is really like the switching sides to the highest degree, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think they did a little. I mean, was it last season where they were like golfing together? Like they had like there was a
Oh, I
couple of
forgot about
times
that.
where they were sort of like Teresa and Louis were golfing with Jackie and her husband. And
Hmm.
so I think that there was like we're trying to like mend the fence. But it
Okay.
does feel like a full switch. And I mean, I know a lot of people are nervous about this upcoming season because of the Joe and Teresa feud and Melissa, and like Teresa saying, I'm not going to film with them. We don't
Yeah.
see in the trailer any scenes of them really together. So it, I wonder if the show's going to feel really sort of broken apart in this way, especially now that it really feels like it's going to be Teresa and Jen and Jackie. And there's going to be this like maybe some middle ground. It seems like Jen Fessler might be coming over to the Teresa side. And then the other
Yeah.
side is like Melissa and Marge. And, Dolores is probably like doing what she always does, is like ride the fence. But
Sure.
it feels like it's going to be very two-sided, and we're going to get like almost two different stories happening.
Yeah, my hope is that they'll still be talking about each other because I
I
feel like
mean,
that will, I mean, inevitably happen, and that'll be like the drama.
yeah,
And obviously they're gonna, I'm sure whatever they say about each other to the friends, whoever's riding the fence, like Dolores, like it'll get back to the other person.
yeah,
But yeah, it'll be different to not see them together on camera, and I'm
mhm,
sure. I don't know how you can really be on both sides, like because they are both so against each other and like
yeah,
hate each other really. So
hmm,
I mean, I know if I had a friend, I don't hate anyone, so like I don't know how this would be, but if I hated someone and I thought that they
yeah,
really screwed me over, if you were friends with them too, it would be hard. I couldn't do it. I'd be like,
yeah,
oh, I don't know. Maybe it's not the right thing for me then. I don't know. It's just like, I
yeah,
don't know how they do that.
yeah. Well, it's very interesting because that actually kind of segues us nicely. Are you watching this season of Vanderpump Rules?
Yes. I don't think I'm caught up on the very last episode,
Yeah.
but
I
yes.
mean, this season in general is like falling a little flat, but I think once you've had the season that they had with Scandival, it's like it's going to be hard. It's like, I think Salt Lake is probably the same. Like after Reality Von Tease, it's like, where do we go? We like hit
Oh
this
my
like
God.
pinnacle.
Yeah.
So, but Ariana obviously is having this very similar thing where she's like, I've set boundaries and like it's just not for me. If you guys want to have this person in your life, like it's not okay with me. And that's her own boundaries, which seem like totally fair. I think
I know.
the unspokenness of it all is that like they're on a show together. So I think that like the Sheenas and the Lalas and people like they feel a little torn because they're like, well, we have to film with this person. And so
Right.
it's like, how do you have a fake relationship, or do you try to make it as authentic as possible when you're doing these like
Right.
filming moments? But less
Yeah.
about
That's
Vanderpump
hard.
because I feel like the season is it is what it is. But we
Yeah.
also have been getting a ton of news about this new show, The Valley, which is what they're saying is going to usher in the new. They're even like promoting it as like the next chapter of Vanderpump Rules, which
Mm.
people are saying, like, are they going to actually end Vanderpump Rules because that Bravo wants to maybe cut some ties with Lisa now that she has a deal over at Hulu. And so is the
Ah.
Valley kind of like ushering in them? But it was like pitched as this show when we first heard about it, that it was going to be about like all this like marriage and life after marriage, and, you know, after all the scandal of Vanderpump Rules. And now like Jax and Brittany are separated. And then one of the other couples announced this month too that they were also getting divorced. And so I'm
Oh,
like, so what are we
geez.
actually going to watch? Just a show about people getting divorced?
I mean, I feel like it's a kind of a common story.
Yeah.
People get married and people get divorced, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
maybe shoot in a different city if you want, you know, to see couples stay together forever. I
Yeah.
don't know. LA
Yeah.
is doesn't have a good track record,
That is true. And Jax
you
in
know.
particular.
Oh, definitely not Jack.
But yeah, so I mean, it looks messy, so of course I'll be watching it, but it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see how that plays out. But I
yeah.
want to talk about you because you have just released your new single, Eye Contact. And, you know, there's
Hmm.
been a lot of talk about you doing sort of this transition from country into punk rock, and that you're either like returning or, you know, some people are like, oh, she's changing gears. But really, this is like who you've always been. So tell me a little bit about the new single and why you're kind of picking this to usher in this like new era.
Yeah. It's a song I wrote last year, and I thought it would be fun to kind of to talk about being lied to and betrayed in kind of a new way, because I love writing those kinds of songs. But you know, the idea of somebody looking you in the face and promising you things, telling you they're going to do this and do that, and knowing, like in hindsight, you're like, wow, they knew they weren't going to follow through on those, but they looked at me
Mm-hmm.
in the eye and said that they were going to. And so the idea of that kind of making it a bit like, of course, giving you trust issues, which is, I think, super relatable, but then, you know, when you're maintaining contact with somebody new that's making you these promises, or maybe they're really genuine, it's like, are you lying, or are you being real? And it's almost like eye contact is hard for me now. um and it's a bit of a dramatized lyric. It's not like I can't look people in the eyes. I actually really enjoy it, but I just felt like it was a new and interesting way to talk about, like, yeah, this person gave me trust issues and I'm still working through it.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of the more punk songs on the record. There is a record coming,
Yes,
and there's some stuff. You have it.
I
You've been
do.
listening.
I do. I love it.
Um,
I didn't know if I could
Yay.
like
And there's
share
like,
that today though. So now I know I can't.
yeah, you're allowed to share. I haven't announced the date, so that's the information that hasn't come
Okay,
out yet. But
perfect.
I've sort of been saying it's leading up to a record,
Yeah,
and yeah, it's one of the more punk ones. And I just wanted to lead with this because, you know, it's the first one of the year.
right.
Feels like I should lead it with something a bit more in your face and up tempo. So
Right.
yeah.
And we got some new Cassadee songs last year that were in this vein, and I assume will be part of the record as well. So is right, that's yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes, the only two that won't be on the record is Coma, because
mhm,
that's technically a Taylor Acorn song,
right.
and Wasting All These Tears. I
Yeah.
might put that on like a deluxe eventually, but
Yes.
not on the initial record.
Yeah. Cassadee's version of Wasting All These Tears, that is.
Yes, Cassidy's version.
Not the original.
Thank you.
Um
That'd be weird.
yeah. The but yeah, you released like these songs, so you're not really sort of like launching into this punk pop scene because you've already been doing it. But you know, Eye Contact is sort of you hitting this reset. The artwork is like super fun, and it's really kind of like kicking off this new chapter, which is really you saying like, I'm back where I wanted to. It was like people that I love leave, and almost there, like these were songs that, you know, sort of did that ushering of where you were before and put you back kind of at
Yeah.
home, as you might call it. And now you're like, I'm going to give you the full project, which is really exciting. And now that we can say there's a full album coming later this year, very excited to like, I've heard it, but for other people to hear it and sort of experience what you are ready to give everybody. Cause I think that like, it's been a interesting journey for you, you know, especially in that transition as you started to kind of find your place. Like, does country music or does Nashville like still feel like the right place for you? And do you belong there? And as you were
Yeah.
sort of like, but I still love what I used to be, you were kind of trying, you know, you did the alternative sort of kind of in between stuff, which was this good transition. It's kind of like when
Yeah.
Taylor Swift did the Red album that was like half country, half super pop, and then went into her
Yeah.
1989. And so we can look at this new record that you're doing as your 1989.
Yeah, yeah. And I hope so. That'd be great. When I did Thrive, the alternative record, I really, I didn't know that I would eventually go back to pop punk fully. It was just like what felt authentic and fun at the time. And now looking back, it really did serve as this like bridge record between two genres.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't, you know, expect that to happen. And I really had high hopes for Thrive. But when it didn't do what I wanted it to do, it was like, I feel like everything is telling me to go back to what I was doing before, but in like a new, fresh way. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it definitely feels like coming home. It feels like it's happening at the right time for me. I'm ready for it. I've been lucky enough to like reconnect with the people that I used to collaborate and tour with, like Yellow Card, and there's
Mm-hmm.
like Aaron Gillespie's in Nashville, and we've been writing and collaborating. So it just feels really cool to, I don't know, tap into relationships that I've already had, but also like nurture and bring in some new friendships, like with Taylor Acorn, and I'm writing with the
Mm-hmm.
band Arrows in Action for their music, and it just feels like it's I don't know, more collaborative than anything I ever did in country music. It feels really really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, we recently had someone on the pod that was talking about sort of the country space and that like, you know, Megan Lindsay, who was also on The Voice, she was
Yeah,
on and she was talking about how like in Nashville, like back in the day, you would like show up in a writer's room and you would just like have to like put your name on it. And it was like, they already brought the song and they were like, here's the song. We're just like, if you want to make some tweaks to it and like, we'll put your name on it. And she's like, this isn't, that I'm not like
weird.
actually getting to like put my sound. And,
Yeah,
you know, and this was back in the early days of her with Steel Magnolia and stuff. But,
yeah.
you know, I think that there is a community in Nashville that is still very authentic and rock. And, you know, and so I think that you're tapping into that too, which has been really healthy. And I think all of this stuff that I'm hearing is like the best stuff that I've heard from you. And I feel like I tell you that every time you show me a new song, I'm like, oh my God, that's like the better than ever anything I've ever heard. But that's also the
Oh,
evolution that you've had. And I think I told you this already, but all of this new stuff just seems so authentically you. And
yeah.
so it just feels like flawless when you're performing it. And, you know, you're getting to be a little sexy and a little bit of like a badass, and you're getting to be all the things that represent Cassadee Pope. So I just love it
Oh,
so much.
thanks.
And I can't wait for people to hear more, but they can hear Eye Contact right now because it's available.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's definitely one. It's like the song of the summer. I think we need to make this the hot song.
Ooh, I would love that.
Yes,
Maybe have some TikTok trends out of it. We'll see.
yes.
I'm trying to get that started. It's really hard.
Unless TikTok pulls it because we're like potentially
I know.
losing TikTok. It's like all this like effort
Who
into TikTok
knows?
algorithms, and then they're like potentially going to ban it. So who knows?
I know.
But
I know. I'm holding it with a very loose grip. It's like you
yes,
could go in any moment, and that's okay.
yeah. Well, awesome. Well, I know that you are actually going to go write some more stuff, which is exciting. But before you go, tell folks where can they find you, stay up to date, and then where can they, you know, follow you for the album announcement?
Yeah. I'm on all the social platforms under Cassadee Pope. So Facebook, X. Instagram, TikTok, and then my website. You can type in CassadeePope.com and it'll take you to Cassadee.com, but I've made it just Cassadee.com because I thought it looked cute.
And
And yeah, so that's where all the announcements and everything will be happening.
awesome. And shows to come and just more news from Cassadee to come. So definitely follow there. And yes, Cassadee.com, because why do you need a last name? You are a star of one name, and that is your destiny.
Yeah.
So I love
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for walking through some of these pop culture moments with me. As I said, always so fun to have these conversations on the pod. And I can't wait for people to hear Eye Contact and all of your other new music to come.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And for all of you out there, thanks so much for listening. Until next week, you can follow me on socials. If you've got comments, if you want to, slide into my DMs, tell me what pop culture moments I missed. I'm at CM Vetrano on all the socials. And yeah, until next week, bye.